Welcome, everyone. Good boy, Tucker. This is learning at its most fun.
Hello there, and welcome to another Thursday webinar here at Redtail. Today we will be covering our Redtail Essentials relationships. Now, in the CRM, there are a number of different ways that we can manage these relationships. So we are going to go over 3 different methods today of how you can handle the different types of relationships that you might have within Redtail. So let's jump right in. My first slide here is going to tell us all about those different types of relationships. So first, in Redtail, we have the family. Now, the family is meant to be the tax definition of the family. This is just going to include spouses and dependents. So keep in mind, I know as a human who would love to have my parents still deduct me on their taxes, this is just the tax definition. So these are only the dependents we can deduct from our taxes. I no longer live at home, so my parents can't deduct me from their taxes anymore. So I should not be included in their family. I should have my own. Now, we can link contacts through a family name. So this will also help link accounts. It can also help connect people by giving them different titles like head of household, spouse, and dependent, which are all searchable fields. Now that brings us into the big question, which is, well, what do I do with everyone else? Not everybody falls into the tax definition of the family. And that is absolutely a-okay, because we have a whole separate area where we can store those relationships called memberships. Now, memberships are meant to be all those other relationships. So everything else. We've got grown children, we've got aunts, uncles, parents, we've got best friends, referrals, beneficiaries, organizations that they volunteer with. We have lots of different options here. And the cool thing about memberships, unlike family, is that they are customizable. Now, you may be asking, why isn't family customizable? Well, it's because it's that tax definition. So we don't want to let anything confuse or fog exactly what that tax definition is. But in memberships, because we are able to add just about every other relationship here, this is going to be a customizable field. Now, this is great for managing all sorts of different relationships, whether it's COIs or personal relationships or even affiliations or businesses. This can be anyone. So keep in mind your imagination is the limit here. But we do have a third section that can be increasingly useful for professional contacts specifically. So while it's great to keep track of that spider web of information within the CRM of all of those different connections that you have, I will say memberships is not searchable. It's actually the only distinguishing relationship factor that is not searchable. So we can search based on family and we can search based on professional. So that is why if you have professional contacts, it may be smart to put them in the professional section. Now, professional contacts also have customizable titles and they are searchable. So this is personally my favorite way to keep track of things like COIs or attorneys or doctors or sales reps that are affiliated with those clients. So then you can easily access and see who's taking advantage of those services or potentially who is utilizing the services of one person so they can all be affiliated to them. Excellent. So just to review before we actually get a chance to see all these different methods in action, remember, family is just the tax definition of the family. This includes spouses, children, and any other definable dependents, like potentially grown children who will forever be dependents or potentially adopted grandparents or adopted back parents. Then we also have memberships, which is for all those other relationships. And this is not a searchable field, but it is customizable, unlike our family. And then finally, we have professional contacts. Now, professional contacts are also searchable and they can receive customizable titles, but they are for, like I said, reviewing those relationships like major COIs or potentially life coaches, doctors, insurance reps, sales reps, anything your client may be taking advantage of that's worth noting within the CRM. Perfect. Let's go ahead and jump over to our CRM actually. Whew. Perfect. And let's take a look at a family. So we're going to go ahead and build out a family within Redtail. You may also refer to this as householding a family. So we're going to start with one of my clients today who absolutely needs to be householded. She has a ton of dependents, and we really need to get this organized for her. And that person is Snow White. Now, if we go to Snow White's profile, and if you go into any of your profiles, if you're following along today, you'll notice if you don't have the person currently registered in a family, you will see this hyperlink that says create a new family. So if we click on that, it will prompt us to enter in the family name. So in our case, this is easy. It's just going to be the White family. But the reason why this is a free-flowing field is because this is how we want to address the family. So think about it in terms of if we ran a mail merge or a broadcast email and we were pulling the family name, how would you want to talk to them? Because we could absolutely just put White in here and that works fine. Not what. Ooh. We could put White in here and it would be absolutely fine. But if we pulled a mail merge, this could potentially be problematic. So we may want to address them as the White family. That way our mail merge reads clean and articulate in any situation. Excellent. Let's go ahead and create that family. Now, important to note, if you are generating the family from the client profile, whoever you generate that family, whoever profile you generate that family on, will create them and generate them as the head of household. So we clicked into the family. Now we can see Snow White is listed as the head of household. Now, I will say, if Snow White was single, we can leave the family like this. In fact, I recommend it. Even if single people, like myself, we need a family too. So don't be afraid to household everyone, even if it's just putting a single person into their own home. So that way we have properly identified heads of household, and then you can run searches and pull reports based on who the head of household is. Excellent. But in this case, Snow White does have a husband. You may be familiar with him. His name is Prince Florian. And there he is. And we'll add him. Now Prince Florian has been listed as the spouse. If we wanted to flip-flop it or change it at all, it's a really easy process. All we would have to do is come up to the little gear in the top right-hand corner and say, change head. And we could easily flip-flop Florian to the head of household. Perfect. So now Snow White has been listed as the spouse. Now, another thing I will also mention, you can only be a part of one family. So keep in mind, we can't have multiple spouses, multiple families that exist branching off of this one. Every contact can only be in one household. So if we did have a situation where maybe Snow White and Florian separated, or perhaps one of them passed away, because let's be honest, Snow White's pretty old now. I don't know if you know this, but I think she was born in like 1939. We can check on her profile. But we can also easily edit the family, or excuse me, not edit the family name. We can easily come over to this little grouping of 3 heads, and we can choose to either change the status of that particular family member or remove them from the family entirely. Excellent. Luckily for us, Florian and Snow White are very happy together, and they're both in pretty good health, even though they're aging. She was the first princess after all. We can continue to add their dependents. So I don't know if you know this, but Snow White lived with 7 little men, and they all still live with her and Florian in the castle now. So we need to add them all as her dependents. So we've got Sleepy here, and you'll notice we have an option to select a relationship. It is required, but you only have 3 choices. You can choose child, grandchild, or other. In this case, this is other. This is just a grown dependent who will forever be dependent on Snow White. So we can go ahead and add that family member. We can add Sleepy. Perhaps Mr. Dopey. Excellent. Doc comes in here. Ooh, gotta select a relationship. Cannot forget that. Sneezy. Now, I won't take you through adding all 7, but Now we have Snow White's dependents properly listed. Other benefits, once we have the entire family listed, would be now we can actually see things like family accounts and family notes. So let's click back into Florian's profile here. And you'll notice if we come over to the account section on the left-hand side, we do see Florian's accounts. But if we come up to options in the top right-hand corner, we can also see that we can show family accounts. And now we can see Snow White's mutual fund. If there were other accounts that we wanted to affiliate, we could also see them here, but right now we just have the one, but we can easily see that with that flag, it is a family account. Same thing with notes. If we click over to the notes on the left-hand tab, you can see, okay, right now we're just viewing all of Florian's notes, but if we come over to the right-hand note filter section, and click show family notes at the bottom, we would then see anything that was affiliated with Snow White beforehand as well, because technically they're in a family now. Awesome. If any of the dwarves were affiliated with any of these notes, they'd also be popping up. But that is how you would view and just see those family notes and accounts versus just the individual. All right, let's go back into the White family. As you remember, there are definitely more than 7 dwarves. So if we had other dwarves like Grumpy, who did not want to stay at home with Snow White, he wanted to get his own place, but we still want him to be affiliated with Snow White, this is where we would want to use something like a membership. Now, Grumpy can absolutely exist on his own. So if we go ahead and search his name up here, Grumpy does not want to be a part of Snow White's family. So at this point, it would be a good idea to go ahead and add him into his own family. I will say you can have multiple people with the same name, so don't fret if you have multiple families with the last name. The only time the family name needs to be generated is if, like I said, we're running a mail merge or broadcast email. So you can have multiple families identified with the same name. And now Grumpy is a head of household. And he's single for right now, so we're just going to go ahead and leave his household like this. But remember, if he was still a part of Snow White's family, we couldn't add him to his own family. So it's important that we had him separated. Now what we can go ahead and do is affiliate them together by using memberships like we talked about. So memberships, remember, are for all those other relationships. And we can access them on the client level by heading over to the left-hand navigation bar. And it exists right under assets and liabilities. Excellent. Oh, Grumpy does not have a ton of affiliations right now, but we can add a new one by coming up to the top right-hand corner and clicking add. Now, first things first, we want to select the contact we are affiliating Grumpy with. So if in this case, it is Snow White, and we can easily add her on here. Now you can only have each contact affiliated once. So just remember that. Now you'll notice memberships are a little more special because they have 2 fields. And that is primarily because we want that affiliation to be a 2-way connection. Sometimes it's easy and it's 2 friends connected to each other. So you can easily select, hey, we have a friend and a friend. So that's an easy 2-way street to identify. But in other cases, it might be something like sister and brother, or potentially business associate and client, or beneficiary and business. So you do have the ability in your CRM to go ahead and actually customize these as much as you would need. You can add a couple. I've added a few in here that don't exist, but I would highly recommend customizing these options if you get a chance. It's super easy. All you would need to do is come up to your name in the top right-hand corner, come down to manage your account. I'm going to open up a new tab so we don't lose Grumpy, because that would probably make him more grumpy. But then you will need administrative access in order to perform this next part, but you can come down to the admins only portion and go ahead and select manage database lists. Now, once you're in this section under the manage lists list, you can then come down to contacts and click membership codes. And this will allow you to customize any sort of membership you'd like. Now, when you click add, you will be asked to select what the contact type is, because you can affiliate, like I said, associations, businesses, trusts, unions, as well as individuals. So you will just need to select that type and then establish exactly what the connection is. So we can create something like tenant if we want to. because technically Grumpy was a tenant. So we can say, lucky for us, in this case, it is a contact. The type is going to be individual. And then for us, it's just individual because we are affiliating it to a client that is listed with the type of individual. Perfect. Excellent. You can add as many memberships as you might need. So if we did want to affiliate like Doc, for example, who still lives with Snow White, we could absolutely say, oh, well, that's easy. They're brothers. And what's even cool about the membership section is if we click into Doc's profile and we go to Doc's memberships on the left-hand side, it will show you that he is already affiliated with Grumpy, how he's frozen, how he is affiliated, excuse me. And we can even choose to remove it from here if we need to. But you don't have to duplicate your memberships once they are established. Excellent. Now, other cool and our final aspect here would be how we track our professional contacts. Well, lucky for us, there is a dedicated section in Redtail, like we talked about, where we can keep those specifically professional, not personal relationships, but also use them for searching, which we will go over in just a moment. Now, if you wanted to track any of those professional relationships, you will just need to go into the Know Your Client section of Redtail. Perfect. And you'll notice right at the bottom here, you do have that professional contact section. Beautiful. So then from here, you'll notice we can go ahead and add professional contacts in the top right-hand corner just by simply searching the professional's name. Well, lucky for us, we all know that Mr. Jacob or Mr. Jake from State Farm is Doc's insurance rep, and that is already listed as a system type. So we are able to classify that pretty easily, but you can also create custom system types. Now, if you did want to add your, starting now. If you did want to add your own custom types, all you would need to do is come up to your name in the top right-hand corner, come down to manage your account, just like we did before. You'll scroll down, and once again, you will need to have administrative access in order to use this feature. But then you can come down to manage database lists again. You'll access the manage lists list on the right-hand side, and you'll scroll all the way down to professions. Funny enough, right under our membership codes. And from here, you can add as many professional relationships as you may deem necessary. Excellent. So let's go back over here and let's finish adding Jake. So if we wanted to list potentially Grumpy as our beneficiary for Doc, we could absolutely go about that. Or if we wanted to mark someone as a sales contact, we could easily do that. Fortunately, it is Mr. Eugene or Flynn Ryder. So if any of you are familiar with him, he's a bit of a thief, but that's okay. Whoever Doc wants to trust with his sales, who as his sales rep, is completely fine with me. Oh, maybe we give him a little bit of advice on that later. But we're able to list as many professional contacts as we need to. The only thing to keep in mind is that we can't go into Mr. Jake's profile and see under Jake's professional contacts who he's affiliated with, because this is just referring to the services that the client is utilizing. But if we wanted to call back information where we see who is utilizing the services of a particular person, we can use our advanced search by going to our contacts tab on the left-hand side, coming up to advanced search at the very top. And then you'll notice we actually have a special area for the Know Your Client section, but don't let it mislead you, because we are just going to search search directly under professional contacts. So type will be professional contact. The field will be either profession type or professional contact. So depending on what you're looking for, generally, if you're looking for a profession type, you are seeing everyone who is utilizing a certain profession. So if we wanted to say everyone who's utilizing the services of an attorney, we could easily pull up everyone who's utilizing that service, or we could flip it and say we need to see a specific contact and see everyone that Jake is affiliated with, and easily create that list as well. Now, since we're already in the advanced search, there is something else I do want to show you, and that is how to search for head of household. which also makes householding your clients incredibly beneficial. So if you were ever asking yourself, well, I just wanted to see maybe one household, I don't need to see everyone from that household so I could send out correspondence, or so I could just have an accurate list of how many clients I actually talk to or that need to schedule annual reviews, you could absolutely use your advanced search. This time, we're going to scroll up though, and we're just going to select family. And then you'll notice you have three options. You can run it by family name, so we can search everyone who is the White family, for example, or you can search relationship or based on head of household. So keep in mind, relationship is going to give you that child, spouse, other option. So you can easily pull up anyone who potentially is affiliated as other. These are all of our clients that are a special type of dependent. Or my personal favorite, we can use that head of household search to see everyone who has been listed as head of household. So this generally gives us a little bit clearer view of who our clients are, who we should be corresponding with. And then we can add layers onto our search to narrow down the information even more. So maybe we want to see heads of household, but we just want to see active heads of household. So we can easily run that search through status. And if you are someone who is unfamiliar, for example, with how to run an advanced search, I highly recommend checking out some of our videos. There's a lot of different combinations here that we don't have time to cover all of them today, but feel free to check out the other videos. However, this is one of my personal favorite ways to narrow down information. It really helps you get an accurate look at the clients that maybe you correspond with the most. So that way you don't have to send out notifications or reminders to the entire household. You can just send them out to the person you've identified as the point of contact, or if you're simply calling them the head of household, that way as well. Excellent. Finally, there is also one other report that I will show you, and it is our membership report. So like I mentioned, there aren't a ton of ways to search memberships. In fact, they're not really searchable at all in the system. But if you ever needed to, for particularly one of your list of clients or so, you could use the advanced search to select the clients you'd like to run this report for. First, I'm just selecting all of them for right now. You could just choose to select a few of them, or maybe even one person if you wanted. Let's just run it for Bonnie. Or actually, run it for a couple. I haven't run my membership report for my princesses in a while. And then we can come up to contact options. And then if we select this reports option, there is a membership report. And the membership report is just designed to give you an outline of who their connections are in the system. So if we view this report, we can see by zooming in a little bit more who Cinderella is affiliated with, why they're affiliated with her. So we can see Mr. Jim Halpert and Cinderella are friends. Rapunzel has a couple of connections, and so does Jasmine. And like I said, you can run this for one client, you can run it for a few if you need to, but it just gives you a quick overview of who they are affiliated with. It could be useful, particularly if you're using it to connect them to grown children or people outside of their family. So when you do have a meeting with them, you can pull it up quickly and say, are these still affiliates that are important to you? Is there anyone we need to remove? Is there anyone we need to update? And that could be just a really quick way to make sure that you are correctly identifying your clients' connections. Excellent. Alrighty, everybody. I know that was a bit of a quick one today, but I just want to review really fast by going back to our PowerPoint. Today, we went over the different types of relationships that exist within Redtail. We talked about family and how family is meant to be the tax definition of the family. It is not customizable. However, it is searchable. So you can use that advanced search to narrow down easily who are the heads of household, who are the households within your CRM, so you can correctly correspond with them. But we also talked about how we don't like to leave out all those other important relationships, like their friends, their family, their extended associations, their volunteer opportunities that they take, or their businesses that they're affiliated with. So we can use memberships to correctly identify that within the system. These are customizable fields, unlike family, so they give you a lot more flexibility. We can't search off of them. However, we can pull a membership report and see them at a glance if we need to. And this field will also show on other affiliates as well. So once we affiliate someone once in a membership, they don't need to be affiliated in an opposite way. And finally, we have professional contacts. And professional contacts are a great way for you to store any sort of affiliation that in a business or professional capacity might need to be searched or later reported on. So that way you can easily access anyone who is taking advantage of a life coach or a therapist or a CPA or a lawyer, or even better, tracking beneficiaries, because tracking beneficiaries in the system can definitely be something that can find a tough spot for you and your team. That's easiest for you and your team. But overall today, thank you so much for joining me. I absolutely adore talking about relationships. If you do have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much, everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.